We can't let this moment pass. You have to risk now.
I understand.
She fainted during the divorce and woke up to a truth that changed everything. The courthouse stood like a cold monument to failure, its gray stone walls rising into the pale winter sky as if judging everyone who passed beneath them. To Emily Rodriguez, those walls felt heavier than any courtroom she had ever argued in, heavier than any verdict she had ever faced. Today was not about winning or losing a case. Today was about ending a marriage she once believed would last forever. She paused at the bottom of the courthouse steps, her breath forming a faint cloud in the air. Her hands trembled slightly as she adjusted the charcoal coat wrapped tightly around her frame. The chill she felt had nothing to do with the weather. It came from inside her chest, a hollow ache that had been growing for months. 6 years. 6 years of love, promises, shared dreams, and quiet sacrifices, all reduced to a few signatures on official paper. Emily straightened her spine and climbed the steps. Inside, the echo of her heels against polished marble sounded louder than it should have, each step announcing her presence in a place she knew all too well. She was no stranger to courtrooms. As a senior corporate attorney, she had walked these halls countless times with confidence and authority. Judges respected her. Opposing counsel feared her. Clients trusted her. But today she was not a lawyer. Today she was just a woman whose marriage had quietly collapsed under the weight of neglect, ambition, and unmet needs. The elevator ride to the 5th floor felt endless. The mirrored walls reflected a composed woman with carefully applied makeup and steady eyes, but Emily knew better. Beneath the surface, her heart was racing, memories colliding with regret and grief she had refused to fully acknowledge. When the elevator doors slid open, she saw him. Ryan Blackwood stood near the tall windows overlooking Manhattan, his broad shoulders outlined against the city skyline he had helped transform. Even from a distance, he looked powerful, controlled, immaculately dressed, every inch the successful real estate titan the media admired. At 38, Ryan was more handsome than the day she married him. His dark hair was perfectly styled, his navy suit tailored to precision. He looked like a man who never lost control of anything. Anything except his marriage. Emily's chest tightened as old emotions surged to the surface. This was the man she had loved fiercely. The man she had supported while he built his empire. The man who used to rush home just to have dinner with her, and then slowly stopped coming home at all. Ryan turned as if sensing her presence. For a brief second, something flickered in his steel-gray eyes. Regret. Longing. Maybe even pain. But it vanished quickly, replaced by the familiar professional mask he wore so well now. Emily, he said, his voice calm, controlled. Ryan, she replied, matching his tone, even though hearing his voice sent a painful shiver through her. They had barely spoken in 3 months. Since the night he packed his bags and left the penthouse they once shared, all communication had gone through lawyers, cold emails, sterile negotiations, emotion stripped away like excess weight. It was easier that way. Less painful than remembering what they once had. Their attorneys arrived moments later, moving with efficiency that felt almost cruel. Emily's lawyer, a composed woman with sharp eyes, gave her a small encouraging nod. Ryan's attorney looked impatient, clearly eager to finalize matters and move on to more profitable cases. To them this was routine. To Emily it felt like a funeral. They were ushered into the judge's chambers, a smaller room lined with shelves of thick law books. Emily took her seat, Ryan sitting beside her but leaving a careful distance between them, as if touching her might shatter whatever emotional control he had left. The judge spoke calmly, explaining the dissolution of marriage, the agreed division of assets, the simplicity of proceedings due to the absence of children. No children. The words echoed painfully in Emily's mind. She barely heard the rest. Her thoughts drifted to their wedding day. The way Ryan's eyes had shone with devotion as he promised to cherish her. The way she believed him without hesitation. Forever had sounded so certain then. Mrs. Blackwood, the judge said gently, "Are you ready to sign?" Emily blinked, realizing all eyes were on her. The document lay on the desk in front of her. One signature would end everything. She should have felt relief. Instead she felt empty. She picked up the pen. Her hand shook despite her effort to steady it. She had faced hostile judges, ruthless executives, and million-dollar negotiations without breaking a sweat. But this felt impossible. The pen touched the paper. The room suddenly spun. The black ink blurred, swirling across the page as a sharp ringing filled her ears. Her stomach lurched violently. The pen slipped from her fingers and clattered onto the desk. "Emily." Ryan's voice sounded distant, stripped of its usual control. She tried to speak to say she was fine, but her tongue felt heavy. The walls tilted. Ryan's face moved closer, his eyes wide with fear she hadn't seen in years. Then everything went dark. The next thing Emily knew, she was waking to the steady beeping of machines and the sharp scent of antiseptic. Her head throbbed as she blinked against harsh fluorescent lights. A hospital. Emily, thank God. She turned her head to see Ryan sitting beside her bed. He looked nothing like the composed billionaire from the courthouse. His hair was disheveled. His tie loosened. His face pale, his eyes filled with raw emotion. "What happened?" she whispered. "You fainted," he said, his voice unsteady. "You hit your head when you fell. I thought I lost you." Before she could respond, a nurse entered, cheerful and efficient. "You gave us quite a scare," she said. "But you're awake now. How are you feeling?" "Confused," Emily admitted. "We ran some tests," the nurse continued. "The doctor will explain everything shortly." Moments later, the doctor entered, her calm presence instantly commanding the room. She reviewed Emily's chart before looking up with a gentle smile. "Emily," she said, "you're going to be just fine." The fainting was caused by stress, low blood sugar and hormonal changes. "Hormonal changes?" Ryan asked sharply. The doctor met Emily's eyes. "You're pregnant. About 7 weeks along." The words hit Emily like a tidal wave. Pregnant. Her mind raced backward, to the night Ryan returned to collect his last things. The fight. The tears. The desperate closeness that felt like a goodbye. The morning he left anyway. She looked at Ryan. The color drained from his face. "That's not possible," he whispered. "It is," the doctor said calmly. "Both mother and baby are healthy." "Baby. Their baby." The doctor excused herself, leaving them alone with the truth that changed everything. Emily placed a trembling hand over her stomach. Ryan stared at her, devastation and awe battling in his eyes. "We're having a child?" he said quietly. "Yes," she replied. In that moment, sitting in a hospital room with divorce papers unsigned and their future uncertain, Emily realized something profound. The woman who had been dismissed, neglected, and emotionally abandoned was no longer powerless. Life had intervened. And nothing, absolutely nothing, would ever be the same again. Suspended promises and fragile beginnings. The silence in the hospital room felt heavier than any argument Emily and Ryan had ever shared. The machines hummed softly, indifferent to the emotional earthquake that had just shattered everything they thought they knew about their future. Emily lay still, one hand resting unconsciously on her stomach, as if protecting a secret that had only just revealed itself. Ryan stood near the window, his back turned to her, both hands braced against the glass. From the outside he looked composed, strong, unbreakable. But Emily could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his head was bowed slightly, as though the weight of his own thoughts was too much to carry upright. 7 weeks. The number echoed in both their minds. That night. The last night. Neither of them spoke for a long moment. Words felt dangerous now. Too heavy. Too permanent. Finally Ryan turned. His eyes were red, his carefully built armor cracked beyond repair. "We're having a child," he said again, quieter this time, as if repeating it might help him understand it. Emily swallowed. "I didn't know," she said softly. "I swear I didn't. I believe you." He took a step closer, then stopped, uncertainty flashing across his face. I need to understand what you want." The question hung between them, raw and vulnerable. What did she want? Emily had asked herself that question countless times over the past 3 months. She had wanted him to choose her. To come home. To stop treating their marriage like something that could wait until after the next deal, the next project, the next expansion. But now there was more than just her heart at stake. "I want this baby," she said firmly. "No matter what happens between us." Ryan nodded slowly. "And us?" She met his gaze, refusing to soften the truth. "I don't know. I can't pretend everything is suddenly fixed just because I'm pregnant." "I'm not asking you to pretend," he said quickly. "I'm asking for a chance to do better." Emily felt a familiar ache bloom in her chest. "You already had chances, Ryan." "I know," he said, his voice breaking. "And I wasted them." A nurse knocked lightly and entered with discharge paperwork, explaining that Emily would need rest and follow-up care. Ryan listened carefully, asking questions, taking notes, his focus absolute. Watching him, Emily felt a confusing mix of comfort and fear. This attentiveness was what she had begged for during their marriage. Why now? 3 days later, Emily returned to the penthouse. The space looked exactly the same, floor-to-ceiling windows, sleek furniture, the city glittering beyond the glass. But it felt different. Like a house holding its breath. Ryan had moved into the guest room without discussion. The unspoken boundary eased some of Emily's tension. They were not a couple again. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But they were connected in a way neither of them could ignore. The first morning back, Emily woke to the smell of smoke. She followed it into the kitchen and found Ryan standing in front of the toaster, staring at 2 pieces of blackened bread like they had personally betrayed him. He was dressed casually, hair messy, eyes still heavy with sleep. "I was trying to make you breakfast," he admitted. The book said small meals help with nausea. She raised an eyebrow. "The book?" "Books," he corrected. "Plural." Despite herself, Emily smiled. Over the next few weeks, an uneasy routine formed. Ryan worked from home, deliberately stepping away from meetings to check on her. Emily continued her legal work remotely, though fatigue made it harder than she expected. Morning nausea came without warning, and Ryan always seemed to appear at the right moment with crackers, ginger tea, or simply quiet concern. One evening, Emily finally broke. She sat on the couch staring at her laptop, the words blurring together. Ryan ended a call and noticed her expression immediately. "You don't have to be strong all the time," he said gently. "Not with me." The words cracked something open inside her. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Scared to believe you. Scared this is temporary." Ryan sat across from her, keeping a respectful distance. "I'm stepping back from the company." Her head snapped up. "What?" "I hired a CEO to handle operations," he continued. "I'll stay on as chairman, but I'm done living at the office. I want to be present." The magnitude of what he was saying stunned her. His company was his identity. "Don't do this because of me," she said quietly. "I'm doing it because I finally understand what matters," he replied. The first ultrasound appointment changed everything. The sound of the heartbeat filled the room, fast and steady. Emily's breath caught. Tears streamed down Ryan's face openly, unashamed. "That's our child," he whispered. For the first time since the courthouse, hope felt possible. But hope, Emily would soon learn, had enemies. 2 days later, the penthouse door opened without warning. Diana Blackwood had arrived. Tall, elegant, and impeccably dressed, Ryan's mother scanned the room with thinly veiled disapproval. She barely acknowledged Emily. "I hear you've suspended the divorce," Diana said coolly. "Please tell me this is a misunderstanding." Ryan moved instinctively closer to Emily. "It's not. Emily is pregnant." Diana froze. "Pregnant?" Her eyes flicked to Emily's stomach, not with joy but calculation. "This is highly inconvenient," she said finally. "The press, the investors." "This is my family," Ryan cut in sharply. "And you will respect her." Emily watched, stunned. He had never spoken to his mother like that before. Diana's gaze hardened. "You're making a mistake." "No," Ryan replied. "I already made that mistake. This is me fixing it." Diana left shortly after, her disapproval lingering like a shadow. That night, Emily lay awake, hand resting over her stomach. The world was already judging her. But for the first time, she wasn't alone. When respect is tested, truth always rises. The calm that followed Diana Blackwood's visit was fragile at best. Emily felt it in the way the penthouse seemed quieter than usual, in the way Ryan lingered before speaking, as if choosing his words with extreme care. Something had shifted not just between them but around them. The pregnancy was no longer just personal news. It was a catalyst. And catalysts never leave anything unchanged. The first crack appeared at Emily's law firm. She had taken a brief medical leave after the courthouse incident, but returning to work, albeit remotely, should have been straightforward. Instead, subtle changes crept in almost immediately. Calls that used to include her now went unanswered. Strategy meetings were rescheduled without notice. One afternoon, she overheard 2 junior associates whispering during a conference call, unaware her microphone was still live. "She's distracted," one of them said. "Pregnant and emotional," another added. "This is why women shouldn't lead high-stakes cases." Emily closed her eyes slowly, forcing herself to breathe. For years, she had earned her reputation through relentless work and unmatched competence. Yet in a matter of days, her pregnancy had erased all of that in the minds of people who once praised her brilliance. That evening, she confronted the firm's managing partner during a scheduled review. "Am I being removed from my cases?" she asked calmly. The man shifted uncomfortably. "We just thought, maybe this is a good time for you to slow down." "I didn't ask to slow down," Emily replied. "I asked if my performance has declined." Silence. No, he admitted. But optics matter. Optics. Emily ended the call with professional courtesy, but inside, something hardened. That night she told Ryan everything. His reaction was immediate and intense. They're sidelining you because you're pregnant, he said, anger flashing in his eyes. That's discrimination. I know, she replied. But proving it is another story. Ryan paced the room, visibly struggling to contain his fury. You built your career from nothing. No one gets to take that from you. She looked at him, surprised, not by his anger but by the respect in his voice. He wasn't trying to fix it with money or influence. He was angry because it was wrong. The next challenge came from the media. A gossip outlet published a vague but damaging article about Ryan's estranged wife conveniently becoming pregnant during divorce proceedings. The implication was clear and cruel. Emily was painted as manipulative, desperate, and calculating. She stared at the headline in disbelief. Ryan read it once, then crushed his phone in his hand. They will not do this to you, he said fiercely. But they already had. Emily left the penthouse the next morning to attend a prenatal appointment alone. In the clinic waiting room, she overheard two women whispering, their eyes flicking toward her. That's her, one murmured. The billionaire's wife. Emily lowered her gaze, her cheeks burning. For the first time she understood something deeply personal and profoundly unfair. Power didn't protect you from humiliation. It only changed the audience. Later that week the real test came. Ryan invited her to attend a charity gala hosted by his company's board, a room full of investors, executives, and social elites. Emily hesitated. I don't belong there anymore, she said quietly. You belong everywhere, Ryan replied. And I want them to see you. The ballroom was breathtaking, filled with crystal chandeliers and expensive laughter. Conversations hushed as Emily entered on Ryan's arm. Some people smiled politely. Others watched with thinly veiled judgment. Then came the whispers. Is that the woman who trapped him? I heard the pregnancy was convenient. He should have finalized the divorce. Emily felt her chest tighten. Midway through the evening, a board member approached Ryan with a condescending smile. You're a generous man, the woman said loudly, her eyes sliding to Emily. Not everyone would stand by circumstances like these. Emily felt the insult like a slap. Ryan's grip tightened around her hand. This woman, he said clearly, his voice carrying across the room, is Emily Rodriguez, senior corporate attorney, the legal architect behind 3 of our most successful acquisitions, and the mother of my child. The room went silent. And if anyone here thinks less of her, he continued, they are welcome to take their business elsewhere. Emily stared at him, stunned. In that moment, respect was no longer something she was begging for. It was being demanded. The next morning, Emily made a decision. She resigned from her firm. The call was brief and professional. I will not stay where my competence is questioned because of my pregnancy, she said calmly. I'm opening my own practice. Ryan watched her hang up the phone, pride shining in his eyes. You don't need me to save you, he said softly. Do you? No, she replied. But it's nice not to be undermined. As weeks passed, Emily's new firm gained immediate traction. Former clients followed her. Her reputation spoke louder than gossip ever could. The final blow came unexpectedly. The same firm that pushed her aside reached out, quietly requesting her help on a critical case they were losing. Emily listened, then declined. Some bridges once burned should stay that way. That night, as Ryan rested his hand against her growing belly, Emily felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Not just hope. Power. The reckoning no one expected. Success arrived quietly at first. Emily's new law practice did not announce itself with billboards or flashy press releases. It grew the way real credibility always does, through whispered recommendations, returning clients, and results that spoke for themselves. Within 3 months, she was working longer hours than she ever had at her old firm, but this time the exhaustion felt different. It was purposeful, empowering. She was building something that was hers. And people noticed. What Emily did not expect was how deeply her transformation would unsettle those who once underestimated her. The same gossip outlet that had painted her as manipulative now struggled to reconcile its narrative with reality. Articles quietly disappeared. Mentions softened. Her name began appearing in legal journals again, attached not to scandal but to strategy and success. Ryan watched all of this with a mixture of admiration and humility. He had once believed that providing wealth was the same as providing support. Now he understood something far more uncomfortable. Emily had never needed to be rescued. She needed to be respected. The true reckoning, however, came from the one person who had never hidden her disdain. Diana Blackwood requested a meeting. Emily almost declined. But something told her not to. They met at a private restaurant overlooking the river, the kind of place where power was negotiated over polished tables and quiet confidence. Diana arrived precisely on time, composed as ever, her expression unreadable. "You look well," Diana said, sitting down. "Thank you," Emily replied calmly. Silence followed. Then Diana spoke again, her tone measured but different than before. "I underestimated you." Emily did not respond immediately. She had waited years to hear something like that. Now that it was finally said, it felt smaller than she expected. "You believed I was temporary," Emily said evenly. "Convenient. Replaceable." Diana's jaw tightened. "I believed my son made mistakes because he loved too deeply." Emily met her gaze. "He made mistakes because he didn't listen." The words landed hard. Diana inhaled slowly. "You've changed him." "No," Emily corrected. "I stopped protecting him from the consequences of his choices." For the first time, Diana looked uncertain. "I won't pretend I approve of everything," Diana said after a moment. "But I can no longer deny reality. You are strong, independent, and my grandchild will benefit from that." Emily leaned forward slightly. "Then understand this. I will not be tolerated. I will not be managed. And I will not be disrespected, for my child's sake or my own." Diana studied her for a long moment, then nodded once. "I see that now." It wasn't an apology, but it was surrender. That evening, Ryan listened quietly as Emily recounted the conversation. "I'm proud of you," he said simply. She smiled. "That means more than you know." As Emily's pregnancy progressed, her body changed, and so did the way the world treated her. Strangers felt entitled to comment, to advise, to judge. Some spoke with kindness, others with thinly veiled contempt. Emily stopped internalizing it. She had learned a powerful truth. Respect given conditionally is not respect at all. The ultimate test came when Ryan's company faced a public crisis. A major development project was accused of unethical practices by a rival firm seeking leverage. The board panicked. Investors threatened to pull out. The irony was not lost on Emily. The firm that led the accusations was the same one that had quietly tried to rehire her weeks earlier. Ryan brought the issue to her late one night, his expression torn between professionalism and personal conflict. "I won't ask you to help," he said, "but I trust your judgment." Emily reviewed the documents carefully, methodically, without emotion. "They're bluffing," she said finally, "and they're wrong." Ryan hesitated. "Would you consider representing the company?" She met his eyes steadily. "Only under one condition." "Name it." "That my authority is public. Non-negotiable." The board meeting was tense. Emily entered the room alone. Some executives shifted uncomfortably. Others avoided her gaze. She spoke calmly, dismantling the accusations piece by piece, exposing inconsistencies, presenting evidence with surgical precision. By the time she finished, there was no doubt left in the room. The rival firm withdrew its claims within 48 hours. The board stood in stunned silence. One man cleared his throat. "We owe you an apology." Emily gathered her papers. "You owe yourselves better judgment." She left the room with her head held high. That night, Ryan held her as she rested, exhaustion finally catching up with her. "I don't know if we'll end up together," Emily said quietly. "But I know this, we are better people than we were." Ryan nodded. "Because you taught me humility." She closed her eyes, feeling their baby move for the first time. A reminder. A promise. The power of becoming, and the justice that followed. The final months of Emily's pregnancy arrived quietly, without spectacle, but with a steady sense of purpose that surprised even her. Life no longer felt like something happening to her. It felt like something she was shaping, intentionally, unapologetically. Her law practice flourished. Clients sought her out not because of her connection to Ryan, but despite it. She was known now as precise, unyielding, and fair. A woman who did not bend under pressure and did not trade her integrity for convenience. The same industry that once whispered behind her back now spoke her name with admiration. Ryan watched her transformation with a humility that would have been unthinkable a year earlier. He no longer tried to lead from the front. He listened. He showed up. He asked instead of assuming. The empire he once guarded so fiercely continued to thrive under new leadership, proving what Emily had always known. Presence mattered more than control. One evening as they prepared the nursery together, Ryan paused, paintbrush in hand. "I need to say something," he said quietly. Emily turned toward him. "I don't expect forgiveness," he continued. "And I don't expect a future you haven't chosen. But I need you to know this: I see you now. Not as my wife. Not as the mother of my child. But as a woman who was strong long before I ever learned how to be." Her chest tightened. "Thank you," she said simply. That night, Emily lay awake feeling their baby's movements, reflecting on how much had changed. The humiliation, the judgment, the isolation. None of it had destroyed her. It had clarified her. The final reckoning arrived just weeks before her due date. The same gossip outlet that once fueled speculation published a new article, this time attempting to profit from her success by reframing the narrative. They painted her as a redemption story, conveniently ignoring the harm they had caused. Emily read it once. Then she acted. With calm precision, she filed a defamation lawsuit. The evidence was overwhelming. Timelines. Communications. Proof of intentional misrepresentation. The outlet settled quickly, issuing a public apology and donating a significant sum to a women's legal advocacy foundation, one Emily quietly helped establish. Justice served cleanly. On the morning Emily went into labor, the city was wrapped in soft rain. Ryan drove carefully, his hands steady but his eyes filled with emotion. In the delivery room, Emily endured pain with the same resilience she had shown all year, focused, determined, unafraid. When the baby's cry filled the room, everything else faded. Ryan wept openly. Emily felt a profound calm. Their child was placed in her arms, small, warm, and real. A new beginning, untouched by past mistakes. Ryan looked at her, then truly looked at her. "You changed everything," he whispered. Emily shook her head gently. "No. I became myself." In the weeks that followed, Emily chose her path carefully. She did not rush back into marriage. She did not erase the past. She allowed growth to stand on its own. Ryan remained present, consistent, accountable. Whether they would reunite fully was no longer the central question. Respect was. And respect had been earned. Emily stood one afternoon by the courthouse steps, the same one she had climbed months earlier in quiet despair. This time she held her child close, her posture relaxed, her expression serene. She had fainted once in this place. Not from weakness, but from carrying more strength than she realized. And when she woke up, she claimed her power.